Sayer, thank you for giving us this interview for the website.
Thank you.
You are one of the keynote speakers on this conference on welfare in hard times, and you have been writing on the subject in a book recently. What is the main concern that has led you to writing the book and giving this paper on the conference? You seem to be very engaged with the matter, so to say.
Right.
It's not just a intellectual hobby or something, but it's really that something that comes from your heart as well.
Well, it's a book on the rich, but I find the subject quite distasteful, actually.
Okay.
But I'm passionate about it because it's about social justice and injustice, and it's a critique of inequality which focuses on the interdependencies between the rich and the rest of the society. And the title, Why We Can't Afford the Rich, are basically 4 reasons. One is that most of their wealth comes from wealth extraction, not wealth creation, contrary to their main view. Secondly, with their incredible economic power goes excessive political influence, anti-democratic political influence. Thirdly, their consumption is obscenely excessive in a world where many people are far too little. And related to that, fourthly, is that many of them are dependent on continued economic growth and the use of fossil fuels, which is endangering the planet.
So the topic is closely related with the issue of environmental concerns as well.
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's far too much complacency about global warming, even in radical academia, and one can read huge books on the future of capitalism, which only have a few sentences on global warming as if it was a minor issue.
And you've been talking also about what this all means for ordinary people, so to say, people who just try to cope with life. They work, they hopefully get some money for that work. And what's the implication of this huge wealth in the hand of so few for the normal, ordinary people that try to survive on the basis of their work?
Well, for the bottom half of the population to the rich countries, it has meant austerity and static or reduced incomes, and then they have to spend more of that income on housing because there are housing shortages, and housing is increasingly controlled by the rich and basically provides money for banks and landlords, and also more insecurity. But the future of our economy is in question because the capitalist economy is one which is addicted to growth, and if it can't grow, it gets into a lot of trouble, as we know. And the idea of continued growth, everlasting growth in a finite planet, is absurd. And our carbon footprints in the rich countries are massively excessive. The top 10% of the world's population in terms of income create 49% of the carbon emissions. And so it's the responsibility of the rich countries, especially the better off people within them, to turn that round, basically.
During your lecture, you made a very interesting remark, at least to my mind, that it's not only about neoliberalism, but also about liberal economy.
Yeah.
Could you explain, so you widen the perspective, so to say, a little bit? Or a little bit, quite a bit?
Yes. Well, if you look at the whole history of modern philosophical and scientific research and social science, it's assumed that it's talking about people who are basically brains, reasoning beings who are adults. They're self-sufficient in many ways, and they have to interact with one another, form contracts, and they mustn't harm each other, and that's the main issue to do with political philosophy. And there's no space in that for recognising the fact that we are dependent animals as well, dependent on each other. We are social beings, and that all of us need care. And so I think the most important development in ethics for a very, very long time has been care ethics, and to realise that we have to first of all be brought up in a caring way which enables us to function as independent individuals, and all of us need care throughout our lives. And economies are basically systems of provisioning, providing the wherewithal to live adequately or well. And a major part of that is providing adequate care. It should be. And of course it isn't. It's a marginal part. It's a residual, if you're lucky.
Sure. If you allow me a final question, in one of your previous books, Why Things Matter to People, you've introduced a distinction. You are talking about concern of people, and interestingly enough, in the ethics of care, that has been used quite a lot the last few years. People have read the book and taken over that argument. But could you explain what the difference is between people having a concern compared to those other concepts used so frequently in ethics, like need, preference, want? So it seems to be a real novelty, so to say, to speak about concerns.
Okay, well, needs and wants and desire and preferences, and they're very important, of course, but they can be easily represented just as things. And I want this term concern to refer to more of an orientation to the world of care, we care about what happens. We're concerned. Concern can include worry, but it doesn't have to be worry. We can be concerned about our friends or something like that, even though we're not worried about them. We want them to be happy and so on. And so continually we are scanning our environment, both consciously and subconsciously. Our body is continuously doing that for danger. So when we get a shock, it happens before we realise. Then we think, oh yes. So we are vulnerable animals, and we have to pay attention to what's happening in our environment, much of which we do unconsciously, but we also do it consciously. And I was dissatisfied with a lot of social science which described people in a very alienating way, in that one didn't get a sense of them caring about anything. But of course they do. They love people, they fear things, they worry about things. They have commitments to maybe activities like football or music or cooking or political causes, and their well-being depends upon those concerns, plural, where it's a count word. You can have the different concerns. But I also mean concern in general as a kind of orientation to the world of caring about what happens. And our well-being depends upon that, doesn't it?
It does. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.